Hey guys! So today we are talking about compound inequalities and what that means. So basically we have two pieces of information that we're going to be looking at. Okay, so you need to know one thing, or two things I guess. If you see an and, it's together. If you see an or, it's apart. Think about like an oar on a boat. So if you have like a little boat here, a little sail, and you have like the oars, so those things that go in the water to help you steer and push the boat. Okay, they're on the outsides because that's where the water is. So oars are always out and they always face opposite directions. For this class, they do. Okay, and then ands are always in. All right, so we're going to do some problems together. So right away, this is an and, so I know my answers are going to go this way in my number line. So I'm going to shade in the middle, okay? So ands, you shade middle, and ors, you shade outside. Okay? All right, so here we go. So you're going to solve each inequality individually. So for this first inequality, so we're going to pretend like that guy's not there. We're going to get the variable by itself, the n by itself. So the opposite of positive 1 is minus 1. So I'm going to minus 1 on each side. Then you have n is greater than or equal to negative 3. And then we're all done. This guy over here, my variable is getting divided by my 8. So the opposite of divide is multiply by 8 on each side, which cancels out the bottom number. So now you have n is less than 1 times 8 is 8. Okay, so these are our two important numbers. The numbers always go from least to greatest. So over here on my number line that I drew, I'm going to put my least, which is negative 3, and my greatest, which is 8. Okay, my negative 3 has a line underneath it, so it's going to be a closed dot, whereas my 8 doesn't have a line, so it's an open dot. Okay, now I need to shade. We either shade on the inside or we shade the outside. But I know that this is an and because it says and it's always going to say and if it's an and. So, well, yeah, and there's another one that's an and too, and I'll show you in a second. So because it says and, that means I'm going to shade in the middle. Okay, here's another way to tell. If I'm looking at this guy, I'm not eating my number, so I need to shade to the right, so I would shade to the right here. And then if I'm looking at this guy, I eat my number, so I would shade to the left because I'm looking for a number smaller than 8, but bigger than negative 3. So this is where they have common numbers in the middle. So like negative 3, the solution still would be over here, but that's not common. So we're looking for answers that are common. Okay, so we need to write our interval notation. We have nothing important to the left. Our first important piece of information is negative 3, so we write that down. Since it's a closed dot, it needs a bracket. Our next important piece of information, this is all shaded till we get to 8. And it's an open dot, so a parenthesis. The infinities aren't shaded, so they don't get interval notation. And this is your answer. Okay, hold on. I'm going to make this a little bit easier to see. Okay. Oh, let's focus. There we go. Okay, here's another and. This guy looks a little bit different. They share a middle. So if it shares a middle, it's an and as well. The ors always say or. Okay? So this guy, what you do is you have to split the inequality. So we have a long inequality with two symbols. So basically you're looking for the left and then the inequality until you get to this inequality and you stop. So that's the first inequality you write down. So we have x is less than or equal to x plus 8, or 8 is less than or equal to x plus 8. And then from here, you go from the left to the first inequality and then you stop. So we're not looking over here. So this is x plus 8 is less than or equal to 18. Okay, solve each of these inequalities. So we're going to get the x by itself by doing the opposite of plus 8. So we minus 8 on each side. So then 8 minus 8 is 0. And then bring down your x. Over here, we're trying to get the variable by itself. The opposite of add 8 is minus 8. Do that on both sides. X is less than or equal to 10. Okay, then we draw our number line. We have to put 2 dashes It goes in order from least to greatest. The least is on the left this time, but sometimes it's not, so be careful. They both have lines, so they're going to both be filled in. Since it's an and, they should be shaded in the middle. We're going to check. So I want numbers that are bigger than 0, so this way, and I want numbers that are smaller than 10, so this way. So yeah, shaded in the middle. Then we need to write our interval notation. So our interval notation is a closed dot, so we need a bracket at 0, and then it goes to 10, and it's a closed dot, so bracket. Okay, so here's an or. Ors always go out when you shade, okay? So think about the picture before you actually do it, and we're going to have 2 lines on there. So the or is going to be shaded out like this. We just got to figure out what those numbers are, and if they're open or closed dot, because one of them has a closed dot, one of them has an open dot. Okay, so we're going to get this variable by itself. So the opposite of plus 7 is minus 7 on each side. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Okay, x is greater than or equal to 5. And then we're going to do the opposite of divide by 4. So we're going to times by 4 on each side. Those 4's cancel, leaving x. And 0 times 4 is 0. So my 0 has to go first because it's least, and then greatest. The 0 is an open dot because there's no line. The 5 is closed. And then they always shade out for ors. So this is where the interval notation becomes a little different. So basically, you write down this interval notation. So to the left forever is negative infinity. And remember, you always start on the left. Infinities always have parentheses. Then we stop at 0. And this 0 is an open dot, so it gets a parenthesis. Then we have to write this guy down. So we have some space in between. We have a bracket at 5. And then to the right forever is positive infinity. Now, when in math language, when you're trying to say this and this, you're talking about 2 answers kind of smushing together, and it's called a union. And this U, it's kind of an uppercase U, but it has no tail. This U needs to go in the middle, so it means this answer and this answer. And that's how you do the interval notation for an OR. Okay, let's see if there's some other ones over here. Nah, it's fine. Oh yeah, let's do this one. Actually, I don't see any. Okay, number 12. Okay, on this guy, he's an OR, so that means that it's going to go out when you shade. So just remember that the picture is going to go out, okay? All right, so we're going to solve this guy first. So we're going to do the opposite of the 3, because the 3 and the 5 are like terms. So the opposite of positive 3 is minus 3 on each side. Bring down your negative x is greater than 2. Okay, now I have to get rid of the negative in front of my x, so I'm going to do the opposite of multiply. So we're going to divide each side by a negative 1. When I divide each side by a negative, my symbol needs to flip, and this is going to be negative 2. This guy, I need to do the opposite of plus 6, so we're going to subtract 6 on both sides. X is greater than or equal to 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Okay, then I'm going to write my numbers in order from least to greatest. So least is negative 2, greatest is 5. My negative 2 has an open dot. My 5 has a closed dot. It's an OR, so it's going to go out. And we can check to make sure that that's true. So let's check to see if it's true. So I'm going to pick another number that's smaller than negative 2. So negative 8 is less than negative 2. Yeah, totally works. So yes, that's the solution. And then here, let's pick a number bigger than 5. So like 10. Is 10 greater than or equal to 5? Heck yeah, it is. So that is definitely a solution as well. Then we write the interval notation. So remember the interval notation on an OR is the 2 interval notations smushed together by this U, this union. Okay, sorry, adjusting. Okay, to the left forever and ever means negative infinity. Always write that one first. Then our first important number is negative 2. It's not filled in, so it gets a parenthesis. We have our union symbol. Our next is a bracket for our filled in 5. To the right forever is infinity, and then parentheses. Okay, I think that's it. Trying to see if there's anything else that looks a little crazy. I guess we'll do one more. Let's do this guy, this and, one more and. Number 5. Okay, so we're trying to get the variable by itself, so the opposite of minus 6 is add 6. What we do to one side, we do to the other. M is less than 6. Over here, we're trying to get the variable by itself, so we're going to start by adding 8 on each side. 11, 10, 9, 8, that's 3, so negative m is less than negative 3. Okay, so then we have to get this m by itself, so we're going to do the opposite of multiply by negative 1, which is divide by negative 1. So we have m is, oops, gotta flip my symbol, I divided by a negative, greater than 3. Then we're going to draw our picture. Remember, the least goes first, so 3, open dot, 6 is the greatest, open dot, because no lines. It's an and, so we shade in between every single time. Okay, and we write our interval notation. The first important number that we have is 3. It's not filled in, so parentheses. The next important number is 6. It's not filled in, so parentheses. Okay, let your teacher know if you have any questions. Have a great day. Bye, guys.